Hey, everybody, welcome to Auto Master University weekly manager leadership sessions. Hey, we've been talking about, for the last 4 weeks, I believe, a series that takes Mike Weinberg's book, Sales Manager Simplified, and combines it with John Maxwell's book, The Self-Aware Leader. Why? Because we believe those two topics dance together nicely, and it allows you and I to really look at ourselves as a manager leader in this business. So let's get it going. I'm really excited to have you guys with us. What I know is that this is content that could frankly change you. And I believe that about almost every content we've done together. But let's get this going and let's rock and roll. So the today's topic is, are you a climber or a connector? And that really goes with, what kind of a leader are you? And that's the question I want you to start asking yourselves. We get that a lot of our business, if we're a sales manager, it's about producing numbers. If we're a service manager, it's about producing numbers. We get it's the ROI at the end of the month. And yet we can't get where we want in today's world unless we help develop others and we're executioners. Not that means that doesn't mean we fire them, but executioners in developing. Sometimes we got to fire them, but that's not what I mean by executioner. You and I need to execute. In today's world, in this AI world we live in, execution is key, is absolutely key. And climbers get to the top all alone. They're, what about me? What about me? What about me? You know it. You've had those bosses before, but connectors bring people with them, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Last week, we talked about strengths of ourselves. What are your strengths? And once you understand your strength, you really know you. Now you can grow other people. Now you can know their strengths. But today's a harder question. What kind of leader are you? Now, if you've been with me at all, you know that I've been with Maxwell since 13. And one of the things I really love in automotive is to do a develop the leader within you book. That series is fantastic. And the first chapter in that book is the 5 levels of leadership. And I have an assessment that allows us to rate ourselves on the 5 levels of leadership. If you're interested in that, make sure you hit me up so you can rate yourself. And knowing that is important. If you don't know the 5 levels, number one is, and I'm hesitating to say this, if you don't know the 5 levels of leadership, know them because they're critical. Number one's position. I'm the boss. That's just the way it is. Number two is permission. Hey, buddy, I'm with you. And we're trying to build relationships. Number three is production. And number four is people development. Nothing wrong with permission, nothing wrong with production. We got to produce. And yet we've got to be able to evolve into that piece of developing our people. And Maxwell says there's 2 ways to do that. Either we're going to be climbers, or we're going vertical, or we're going to be connectors, where we go left to right. And we really want to connect with our people. Climbers are great. They're going to get stuff done, but are they developing their people along the way? So by the end of this, you're going to know which one you've been, and your people already know it. So nobody's a climber on purpose. As you can see, it says at the bottom of the screen, but what's that mean? Well, you and I, if we're driven, if we want to, if we're D personalities, we want to be the best of the best, what we know is we didn't just wake up one day and have that happen. It's who we become. It's because how we set our goals. It's our vision. It's who maybe our mentors have been. And yet, what you and I know is that doesn't mean we can't change. There's nothing wrong with climbers, except we're going to talk about that here today. All right, the climber. The single difference changes almost everything about how a person leads. So as we said, climbers are vertical. I'm moving up the ladder. And it's always interesting as I do one-on-one sessions, I always ask my people, what do you want next? It's just a big part of the question I ask. And I think the most important question is, how do you serve more people? What are you going to do next to serve more people? But let me go back to the climber. Always knows who is ahead of them and who is behind them. They know who they're beating, they're competitive, and they know what job they want to get. Nothing wrong with that. We'll look at it. They always read the report on, like, the corporate report about where they are in terms of their dollar per car. They're all over the stats and they want to be number one. Nothing wrong with that. That's huge in this business. And moving up matters to them. Moving down is unacceptable. Now, let's talk about the connector, though. They move sideways. What do we mean by that? They they're in among the people. They're on the floor. They're on the service drive. They're in the shop. They're in the body shop. They're walking around the people. They've got these connections. I've got a friend of mine in the store in the South who is just an incredible connector. And that's his day. He always talks about how's it go? MBWI, managed by walking around. He never sits in his office. He's always connecting with his people. And he knows who's on the trip with him. He knows who's not, and he knows who is, but his job is to get everybody on the trip, as we say, with him. But here's this guy. He's a selfless person. He's got a spirit of servitude, and he puts the good of the team before any of his personal gain. See, a climber looks up and down the board, but a connector walks across the floor or the service aisle. All right, five places it shows up. A position in terms of the difference between a climber and a connector is climbers are all about the position and obviously production, but connectors are all about relationship. One wants the title, the other one wants to build a bridge and wants to really know their people. Climbers are all about competition, but connectors are all about cooperation and connection. One has to win, 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 win at all costs. But even in his book, Winning, Jack Welch doesn't say it's all about winning. It's about connecting. That's a huge part of being a winner. One just, it's all about me. And one understands they have to share their victories at home and in the workplace for it really to be a win. Climbers really want the power. They're frankly insecure and they need control because and they don't trust anybody else to do it. But connectors realize it's a partnership that everybody brings something else to the table. One climbs alone and one goes a whole lot further with people. When I brought people into my team, because I was a one-man band for a long time doing this, my business exploded. One, it looks at image. How do I look? How's my numbers? How am I in terms of how other people see me? And the other one, it's consensus, meaning that your people know that you're going to go to war for them and that we're all rowing on that in the boat in the same direction. One kind of stands apart and the other one stands together. They're all about closing the gap and being a team. Now read down that left column. If you saw yourself more than twice, that's worth sitting with. And hey, if you want to talk to me about it, I'd love to help you walk through that. The next one, what a climber looks like in our business. Michael Weinberg would recognize every one of these. He talks about all of these in his book. None of them feel wrong when you're doing it. You read the board for your rank. Where am I? You manage your image up. You want the boss to see in a different image. Man, I can relate as a young leader. Long time ago, but I can relate. You keep the your best leads close. And that's really about the 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 numbers. The numbers are what you want other people to see in you. That's what you see. The numbers, the production are all that matters. You sit at the desk, you don't move all day, you're all about that producer. And you take credit for your own work. You don't give anybody else credit. None of these feel wrong, but that's why you're in that climber mode because it feels right. Now, there's two scoreboards in the building. Which one do you check? The climber checks where I rank, the store numbers, the gross per copy, the deals I personally saved, and you're not shy about letting people know, and how busy your day felt. But the climber is how many of your people hit their number. Excuse me, I'm going to rephrase that. The connector is how many of your people hit the number. Who improved? And what you and I get is it's our responsibility to get them to improve. Who got promoted? and who stayed at your organization when they had better options. The left side is the month. The right side is defines your career, and that gets you out of what I call the people pile, where you're just another manager. But out of the people pile, how do you get out of the people pile? Other people push you up. Climbing's a solo trip. Here's the part that should stop you. A ladder only holds one person. A climber, whatever you can do alone, connector is smaller than what a team can do. A climber, a title gives you authority, is smaller than partnerships, which get you real power and connection and respect. A climber standing out gets you noticed, or a connector is standing together and that gets things done, results. You can't build a high-powered team from the top of a ladder. You build it standing next to people. So let's talk about this. How do we do it? How does the connector do this? Get in the field, get out there with people, talk to people, the one-on-ones. Folks, we can't lead from behind a desk. Be there and connect with them. And I get it. I've been to stores where the manager hasn't left all day. Is that you? Make every meeting count. If you've got a meeting, have an agenda. We've talked about that last week. We're going to work on our obstacles, work on our options. The people are going to walk out of there with an action plan. Meetings are the time to practice and drill and rehearse, not just hand out who's parking in the wrong parking space. Make the one-on-one theirs. What do you want to work on? A conversation when they get out of there, they feel tighter with you, but they feel better about themselves, more importantly. And let other people know. A connector lets the people that matter know when his team is succeeding. He doesn't say, I'm succeeding. He says, Billy's getting it done. And he lets the owner or the general manager or the market president know. So if the meeting doesn't make them feel better, don't do it. But make sure any meeting you do, any 4 of these has to be on your calendar. Get out there in the field. Put it on your calendar. I'm going to get out there. Put a sticky on your desk. I'm going to get out there. So let's talk about meetings. Making every meeting count. Start on time, end on time. It's respect. Start with a purpose. Every meeting, whether it's a sales training meeting or a one-on-one activation session, we've talked about purpose more than once. You got to have a purpose in the training meeting. I am creating sales training workbooks for all my clients, and every meeting has a purpose. And every meeting has practice and drill and rehearse. And every meeting is relevant. You can send emails out. You can send a text out. Meetings are for developing our people. A connector can describe every person they lead, their number. What number do they own? What number is important to them? You've got it. You know it. If you've got 9 people, you know it with all of them. You know their skills and you know what you're building in them. One thing that you're working on them could be Leroy's a great closer, but he sucks on the phones. What are you doing for Leroy? Maybe it's in a group setting. Maybe it's in the one-on-one setting. You also know what your people, their commitment is and what their expectation is for themselves in their life. And you're also aware of what they're doing. We talked a couple weeks ago about watching your salesperson go from step 1 to step 12, all the way through. See what they're doing. And then we also know too, how am I going to get Leroy to the next step? What's those things that are going to get them to that next step? You can't grow them if you don't know them well enough. We've said that many times. Okay. So here's a couple questions from this chapter. Okay. In what ways am I putting myself and my career ahead of the people on my team? In what ways am I putting myself and my career ahead of the people on my team? I want you to think about that. You might say, well, I'm not. Write it down and think about it, because that's part of what we're going to do this week. And what is one action I can take that puts the betterment of my people ahead of my own agenda? What's one thing I can do that puts the betterment of my people ahead of my agenda? The first one is a mirror. You're looking in the mirror. The second one is the move. What move are you going to make to adjust you? And by the way, if that first answer comes fast and easy, then we haven't looked at deeper in the mirror, deep enough in the mirror. Okay, this week, answer both those questions in writing. Write it down, write it down, write it down. This week, take the one action, pick the person to actually do what you're going to help them work on. Every day, move sideways once, get out there on the floor, get out there on the service lane, go back in the shop. And this last question, and it says on Fridays, ask one person, what could I do that would help you win? What can I do that could help you win? Man, that's huge. And ask them this one. What can I do? Now that you've told me that, what would you like me to do to help hold you accountable? See, nobody remembers where you ranked. They don't even care. But they remember how you helped them and how you made them feel. Way to go, everybody. I so love having you guys with us every week. Share this with somebody. Talk to you next time.